Boards, games, board games. We might be talking about board games, but I'm not gonna shout. I would like the L deck to be wonderful, but I'm still lagging behind on making categorical. And I guess I'm talking today about how it's going, and hopefully this won't result in you throwing away your trust and your respect for me. I promise that categorical will come to be. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. 10 a.m. ish UK time for Bezzy Beats and Board Game Blether. And yeah, today I'm talking about what's going on with categorical, and I'm launching a Kickstarter tomorrow, but that doesn't mean that I'm ignoring categorical. Like, kind of the opposite. And I might need to do a better job of communicating this, but long story short, yes, COVID, yes, Brexit, yes, they are a pain in the posterior, yes, I did get a little bit down. It had more of an effect than if I was a perfectly robotic being, which I'm not. I do get sometimes sad, and yeah, things have more of an effect than maybe just the impact. Yes, I've had some help in the past to do these things. Yes, Chris is gone. Yes, I've got someone else who's coming to help me, and I'm hoping that we can work together and they will help me get categorical made. Yes, it is honestly, other than paid work, which I can do immediately, which I kind of need to do whenever I can, categorical is my number one priority, I promise. And the reason for me doing a Kickstarter tomorrow for a bunch of things that will all come in little boxes is so that I can print those little boxes. Fundamentally, print on demand. It, with the cards themselves, with the printing, it doesn't matter so much. I can print like 100 and that's fine. That's a reasonable cost. But with the boxes, I need to do 1,000 boxes at once because of the cutting. The cutting, it just makes financial sense to do 1,000 at once. That's the way it works. And so it's a lot cheaper to do 1,000 than it is to do 200 or 300. And if I were just doing categorical, I would probably just be doing maybe 300. Maybe I could push for 500, but like 1,000, am I really going to sell that? I don't know if I am. And I'm not feeling in a super confident situation right now. I don't want to be left with loads of things that I then have to keep in storage for years and years. Yeah. So by doing a Kickstarter for other things, I'm able to then say, okay, yes, a game about selecting 7 cards, speedily searching for synergies. Maybe I give those people a free upgrade and they get the box. These people backing the new Kickstarter will all get it in the box. It will be, let's say I do 150 of each. Then suddenly, like that's 750. And then I do like 250 of categorical. I could do a bit more, but suddenly it makes it viable. Like if I'm doing 100 of each, that's like 400. Okay, I can then maybe pay for another 20 or whatever, and it makes it viable because I can reach that 1,000 thing. Because the way that print on demand works, yes, I need to do 1,000 boxes at once, but they don't all need to be the same art. They don't need to all be the same graphics on that box. So fundamentally, they could all be a bunch of different things. And I hope that makes sense. That is fundamentally what's going on. Regarding the contest, yes, it's a slower contest, and going into future years, I think that it might continue being a slower contest than most other things. And I would almost rather lean into that and say, yes, I'm going to keep people more updated. I'll give them more feedback along the way and give them an idea of where I think their thing is. I mean, I don't want to make people too excited, so I'll tell people, hey, I don't think your game is in the top 5, and this reason, this reason, this reason. But let me get to that in a wee minute. Let me, first of all, get to my regular sections and talk about recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other delights, recent highlights. It is today, Monday, 17th of October, 2022. How was yesterday for me? Yesterday was a lot of sleeping, a lot more being in bed. I did manage to get out to the park, which took a lot of effort. I've been like a bit ill. I'm recovering, but I think I'm kind of okay now. I managed to get outside this morning, which was a major achievement. Getting to the park, wandering to the ducks, and yeah, standing there for a minute before coming back. It was lovely. I'd like to get out again. Ideally, I'd like to go dancing tonight, but I don't know. A, am I contagious? B, like, do I have the energy to cycle over to do the dancing? But if I can, then I will. But that's not recent highlights, that's the opposite. What's other things? I guess I was watching a lot of Viva La Dirt League. I was writing some instructions for things and doing things that I can do even with my brain. So let's talk about brilliant things. Brilliant things, what's a little thing which is brilliant? Brilliant things. A brilliant thing is, sometimes getting showered and exfoliation, like, scrubbing your body, making sure that there's a bit of skin coming off and making sure that you don't have those ingrown hairs. And yeah, it's kind of like, whew. Like, one person once told me that they don't scrub themselves properly like every time. Normally it's just, okay, let's get a bit of dirt. But like once, maybe twice a week, they're like properly scrubbing themselves until their skin's properly pink. And this wasn't even a white person who was telling me this. But yeah, exfoliation, sometimes having that, you're feeling new, you're feeling good. It's good times. So with that having been said, as always, comment, ask questions, fun, like, follow. If you're watching live, that's the reason I do these things live, so that you get an opportunity to chat. If you're watching after the fact, please ask me anything and I will answer. So yeah, let's get to the main topic and let me kind of explain myself. Firstly, let's talk logistics. And what is my Kickstarter tomorrow? My Kickstarter tomorrow is for 4 games. I've already done them. I've done the Bezzy bargain bags, and I need Chris, who's going to hopefully do it tomorrow night, to make me boxes for these things. The games will be exactly as they are, just coming in boxes. And it's not a lot of stress with that bit. So that means that once I've done the bit of putting the games into, once we're like, yes, this is definitely being printed, I've got enough people, we can make this, then that means that, okay, Chris has done this boxes, and I'm like, okay, we can do this. I can now, at the same time as printing 750 copies or 600, whatever it might be, of other things, I'm going to print a few hundred copies of Categorickell. And I'm super excited to finally do that. You have no idea how much I want this to be done. Fundamentally, yes, there's a whole thing of you shouldn't use new funds to pay for past projects. That's not exactly what I'm doing. The world has changed. Back in those days, yeah, maybe I undervalued the thing, maybe I asked for too little, but back in the days of when I could send an order to Fabrica Carts in Poland and say, please do this, and then they could send it over, and we didn't have to pay for, import tax because we were all part of the EU. Back when, shipping was a little bit cheaper because, that has definitely gone up. It was a very different world. And to illustrate this, I did run a very short Kickstarter straight after for doing some stickers. And the stickers were a completely different thing, but I allowed some people to buy copies of Kitty Cataclysm. And the copies of Kitty Cataclysm that I sold actually cost me money when I was shipping them internationally, because suddenly something that was costing me, and let me get to the box, something that was costing me obviously the same size box as this, even though this is the Wibble Plus Plus box, that was costing me £6 to send to USA was suddenly costing me literally 20 quid. Now, the prices have gone down a bit since the start of the pandemic. Like right in the first couple of months of the pandemic, things were super, super bad. Now things are just not as good as they were back in 2019. And this is where having games like something that is this thick is a large letter, something that is this thick is a small parcel. There's about 1 centimeter difference between the two, but that is a massive cost difference. And I'm not really able to print it in this way. I'm not as confident in being able to sell on so many things. Like back then I might have been like, okay, sure, I'll send 200 to the Kickstarter backers, 800 to other people. Sure, I'll sell that easily. But I'm not sure anymore. Like the world has changed. The world has changed in that I don't feel like my connection shops are having a worse time. I don't feel like I'm going to be able to necessarily keep building up my stock levels in other shops. I noticed that one shop still has stock that I gave them just before the pandemic, which is really not good. I mean, I would ideally like all of these things to sell out like that, and then for the shop to be saying, hey, come on, Bez, give us more stuff. And then I would potentially be able to justify printing more. But I can't justify printing more. But I do, and I could print something like this for all the categorical backers. I could print something in a bag, but that still feels a little bit rubbish. So getting something in a small tuck box, even though it's not as nice a box as I would like, it is still a little bit better. And in order to do that, for me to be able to economically print a bunch of things, that means that I need to print not just one, but many different games, as many as it takes for me to get to the number of 1,000. How many can I print? And this time, like even 50 copies, if I've got, it's not like I print 50 copies, yeah, I'm going to sell it out like that. Sure, I'll probably sell 50 copies of whatever, but it's not without effort. It's not without cost. It's definitely only if I'm actively demonstrating it at conventions. And so, yes, I will print a bit more than I need just for the Kickstarters, and I'm happy to fund part of that myself, but I need to be sure that there's enough people who want all the previous things, and also by offering people not only the 4-pack of 4 different games, but also offering them the 1-pack of which one game do you really want. That's going to help me work out what numbers to print. And so, look, even if I'm not, like, the truth is, I'm not going to be making much money from these things, but I certainly don't want to, but I really would like to try and avoid being out of pocket if I at all can be. And yeah, I hope that kind of makes sense. Sorry, what's my plan? I think I've just explained it. So my plan is to talk through, to launch the Kickstarter, run the Kickstarter for a bit. As soon as I'm like, yeah, this is definitely happening, have letters ready to go, send them over to Jack, who's now helping me. Let me talk briefly about, Chris and Jack. So let's talk about the value of having other people who are helping you, because sure, I love the fact that there's people who are contributing to my Kickstarter are then like, yeah, we like this, and they contribute ideas, and sometimes those ideas, like the idea of the red herrings in a game about selecting 7 cards, speedily searching for synergies, or the idea of making 2 things at once, that came from the backers. Like in a bind, now known as Yogi, the idea of like the one part of the body being much bigger when it's relevant, that came from the backers. And my excitement, that comes from backers, that comes from people I show it to at conventions. But I do need some help actually doing the working out what the bleep I'm doing, and scanning things. Sometimes I just don't, sometimes I'm just super low on energy, and there's things where sure I could do it myself, like the pre-production stuff, but I am happy to pay someone else to help me with those parts. So that is that plan, and that reminds me that I need to go off to the bank today and pay people. But anyway, my plan, run the Kickstarter, do the art, get the art to the printer. Rob will be like, sure thing, I will print this within a month, get it all sent over. I will run a survey much sooner than I normally do, asking people exactly what they want. Which games do you want? And then I'll try and count it up. And I'll try and have a how can I put this? Yeah, just an estimate of what to print. Once I've got that, stuff to the printer, it will be printed. The first order of priority will be a game about selecting 7 cards, speedily searching for synergies. That will all be shipped off. And then the second port of call, which I might leave until next year, just so that I don't go through the Christmas issues, and there's also going to be a bunch of strikes in November, will be CATEGORICKELL. And then after that, I will send out everything else. And hopefully people will enjoy it. Honestly, this is kind of my plan going forwards, to if I can get a whole bunch of games and people actively want a whole bunch of different games, then it makes sense that people will that I'll be able to print them and get them to Kickstarter backers, and hopefully I'll be able to work out some way of doing this with a bit of help in terms of the fulfillment. So that is my plan. But what happens if that doesn't work? What happens if it doesn't fund? So yeah, if it doesn't fund, then I'm a bit sad. A game about selecting 7 cards, speedily searching for synergies will just be in a bag. And at this point, categorical, I'll have to, yeah, I really don't want to do this. But, if it's just short, I might have a second go, because even though I've never failed a Kickstarter campaign before, failing doesn't mean that you give up forever. It might mean that, hey, you didn't manage to do it this time, but you can do it a second time. And if it doesn't fund, I will work out, does that mean it's probably unlikely to happen? In which case, I will get categorical out in the form of, yeah, a busy bargain bag. And I hate that idea. I hate the idea of an ELL deck looking like this. I really want it to be in a box. And I'm so happy that I didn't print it, along with a game about quickly grabbing creatures that are totally different and counting your vegetables, because those ones were a little bit, about half, maybe even 3 millimeters too long to be a large letter. And so I've got a new box cut, a new box specially made to be a large letter. And yeah, I'm hopeful that it will, but if it doesn't, people who backed categorical, I'll have to give them categorical in a bag like this, and I might be able to give them some freebie, at the same time as an apology for how much, yeah, that's the realistic thing. Now, obviously, I've already mentioned COVID and Brexit, and yes, COVID impacted the shipping. COVID impacted what I was personally able to do. Brexit impacted what I was able to order of people afterwards, like financially, in terms of import tax and everything. And because of Brexit, when I went to Essen, I wasn't able to take anything to sell. My friends from Surprise Star Games, they weren't able to take anything to sell. They were only able to take stuff that had been printed in the EU. And it's been a massive complication. It's really not good times. And it's not going to get simpler anytime soon. I mean, this is about as good as we have it probably for the next couple of years. It's a lot worse than it was when I launched this Kickstarter. So yeah, Categorical will be coming out in some manner. And it honestly breaks my heart to think that this might be the way it is. But hopefully people will understand it. And at this point, it's like, yeah, I did get a bit down. Yeah, I did get depressed, and yeah, I can't work on just one thing. I'm not a robot. When I'm doing other things, that doesn't mean that I'm forgetting about the first thing. That just means that I'm doing imagine it's a bit of exercise, or it's a bit of staying sane, frankly. And so, yeah, I haven't made it yet. Part of that is me. Part of that is the world being really messed up, and it will get made, even though it's definitely not going to be the game in the box that I wanted it to be. It's not going to have the linen finish cards. It's not going to have the, two-piece box that you can literally jump on. But it will, yeah. There will be, I'll send something out. You will get something that is categorical, and yeah. Now, I think that's basically explains as best as I can. And as I said at the start, please do ask if you've got any remaining questions. If you're watching this, and you've got any remaining questions, then please just ask, and I will try and answer as best as I can. So let's talk about the ELL deck design contest, because someone asked about that. So this is an annual contest, and honestly, this year I didn't promote it that much. I would love more people to be joining in the art contest. That's also a lot easier to judge. It's a case of, hey, let's look at these bits of art, and oh, that reminds me, I need to pay someone money today. And let's decide a winner, and it's visual, like it's meant to provide an immediate response. Whereas games, I don't think it's fair to judge games or say, no, this is not a good game just based on reading the rules. Sure, I understand if you've got a big contest and there's hundreds of entries, then at some point you have to say, well, we only have so much time, we can't play everything. Out of these 100 entries, we are going to just play like 20 of them, whatever, maybe 10, or whatever you're able to do. And I do understand when people submit something for the ELL deck contest, it has to be something that's specifically for these cards. Fundamentally, what is an ELL deck game? A game for the ELL deck, whether that ELL deck is Categorickell that's just coming out, or the formerly known Wibble++, or Couple, or there will be more and more ELL decks, hopefully, as time goes on. But a game for this deck certainly shouldn't work with a regular deck of playing cards. That's like key one. I mean, I talk about it should be fun, it should be something that's different, I think about the accessibility as well, in terms of like what additional components, like if you need additional components for writing the score or whatever, that's fine. But like I also think about the accessibility of those things, or indeed the accessibility of counting or memory or whatever. But also the differentiation, like is this different not just in the world of ELL deck games, but also in the world of games in general. But then the key thing is, if you could play it with another deck of cards, then that's not really a game for the ELL deck, is it? It might be a great game, but it feels like... And so fundamentally, people are having to do more specific design. It's kind of harder, like sometimes it's been done, like Forks from Mark Stockton Pitt started life as a game for this deck. Economical, I think I called it, and then Mark took it away and remade it and changed it. And sometimes I tell people, hey, this is a cool game, but it feels like it doesn't quite work for this deck. And that's okay, but I am looking for games specifically for this deck, so I'm requiring people to do a bit more work that might not have so much value. It's not like the Cardboard Edison Award, where if I'm working on anything that's unpublished, I can send it, or even a game contest with a theme. Okay, you've got to make a game that's all about dinosaurs and the alphabet. Even if I ask you to do that, well, you could take your game about dinosaurs and the alphabet and then show it to another publisher, show it to another. But if your game really uses the ELL deck, then showing it to another publisher it might not work so well. It's not necessarily something that you can keep working on. So I do want to make sure that I play everything. I want to make sure that I give people a bit of my time and energy and feedback commensurate with the amount of work that they've done. And I want to make sure that people feel like, hey, I did all this work, but at least I got something out of it. So what have I done? I've been in touch with everyone who sent in a game. This year, I've given them all audio feedback, and I think this is something that I'm going to do more of going forwards, where it's a case of, okay, we played this game, and then I not needing to set up a big rig with an overhead camera and stuff, but it can be like, okay, we played this game and play this game on a separate occasion, and it might be like each time I do a playtest, if it's a short game, I might get through like 4 or 5 of them. If it's a long game, I might get through 1 or 2 of them. But I will then have a little voice thing where I record the playtesters, ask for their feedback, ask for, them to score on like positive, negative on certain criteria, and I will pass on that feedback so that people who have made the game get a sense of, okay, this is how my game was received. This is what people felt about it. And it's not just them hearing or reading my words. So like second-hand information, it's like first-hand information from those playtesters. I think that's a valuable thing. I do think that the video stream is a good one, although I think that next year I would probably limit it to the top 5-ish get to go on the video stream, because it does take a while to organize, and I think that you can only fit so many things into an entire day, and asking people to come back like over and over and over can be a bit much. So the video streaming is clearly better, where you get to see everything. And this year I've half done it. I've gone through half of the games, and there's another half of the games where I've still got to test them, and hopefully in 2 weeks I will have friends over to play them. Now, so what is going to win? For the contest, again, it's not about how well designed it was, but there has to be some level of, you have to have thoughts about the numbers. I mean, if you're hoping that these numbers give you your score, that's completely wrong, because unless you invert them or something. So M, which is a relatively easy letter, has a 4 on it because there's 4 M's on the deck. Same for C. And L is even easier. U, which is slightly harder, has a 3 on it because there's only 3 U's in the deck. And then something which is super hard, like K, where there's only 1 in the deck, has a 1 on it. And that is the opposite to how you'd want it to be if you were using these for scores. I mean, you could tell people that you get a point for every 1 that you have, or 2 points for every 1 that you have, a point for every other card, something like that. You could tell people you get a point for sets of numbers. That's something that I did in Hand Build ELL. Oh, it's been a while since I played that. I think it was, if you've got 1, 2, or 3, like that's not a set. You don't get any bonus points for that. But if you've got 4, then you get 6. And if you've got 5, then you get 10 bonus points. So you get 10 points rather than just 5 points. And that means that you need to get those tricky 1s and 2s. And there's a lot of, okay, I'm going to get that 1. And it's, yeah, going from the 3 to the 6 to the 10 provides that experience. And other people could do something similar, or they could say, for this game, you get, like, it depends, maybe only score for your biggest set. Maybe if the game is small enough, short enough, if you're, depending on what you're playing with, maybe. And there are other ways. Maybe you just score for every card and you just forget about the difference in difficulty of those harder letters. Maybe the one, but whatever works. If you've thought about it, then I want people to have thought about it enough that they understand the makeup of the deck. if they've played it at least once to understand it, then it's probably likely to do better than if you just think of it. But if you think of it and write down the rules, I'm still willing to playtest it. But the rules have to be well written enough that I am able to understand them. That's key one. Key two, it has to be interesting. It has to be exciting. It has to be something slightly different. Point three, yeah, like sparks a bit of fun, engagement, something going on. And the other point is that, yeah, something that could only be done with the ELL deck. So getting back to my video streaming, once I've done that, I will select a top 5. I will be like, okay, this is my favorites. I will rewrite all the rules. This is an important part of the process because in the first year, I didn't know anyone. In 2018, it was like, I don't know who Tom Cauldron is. And I had no bias about that. But 2019, Paul Mansfield won that contest. And it took quite a while because I had to work out a top number and I anonymized all the rules, rewrote them all. I put in a dummy thing so to check if Tom and David Brain, who were helping me out, would be able to tell which one was my own game. So I gave them a small selection of games and they both said, yes, this one, unfinishable, it's definitely in our top 2. And so it was my personal top 1, and so we went with that one. I mean, I think it was David's favorite, but that's the kind of wordy thing that David would like, and I think it was Tom's like joint second kind of thing. And for me, it's important that I don't let, as time goes on, I am going to know more and more people. And so, yeah, anonymization. Anonymization. That's a super important thing because right now, out of all the people who entered the contest, even if I didn't know them that well at the start, and I did know at least half of them, by telling them the audio feedback, hearing what they say back, being in touch, that's kind of going to impact my judgment. And sure, if the contest was who would I rather work with, then that's fine. But I would like there to be a bit less bias. Whilst it's my final decision, I don't want it to be just me. I want other people to say like, yeah, that's our favorite. And even if it's not quite there yet, given a bit of development, we think that this has the most potential. I've got some personal favorites right now this year. And yeah, I don't. But is that because of my relationship with them? Is that because of my personal bias, like the personal kinds of games that I like? And so that's why once I get the anonymization done, then I can ask other folk. I can reach out to, I'm not promising that these people will help me judge because I don't want to be promising other people's time, but I will reach out to David Brain, who's been lovely in the past, and maybe even ask Ellie Dix, hey, Ellie, would you be willing to help me pick between the top 5? And maybe ask other people who were part of that contest, hey, would you be willing to help me? Maybe ask Cardboard Edison, because they owe me some playtesting. Hey, can you playtest these top 5 and tell me which ones you most prefer? And then I'll pass on all that feedback to the people in the top 5-ish, and that will help me choose the winner. And then after that, then it is going to be announced realistically next year. And yeah, I will then spend until August the 1st, 2024, trying to work on it and making it as good as it can be, possibly. So that is what's going on with those things. And let me wrap up here and ask you the question of the day. Question of the day, here's a little question before we go on our way. So my question of the day, since I've been talking about the ELL deck so much, have you played any ELL deck games, and what was the last one you played? The last one I played was a while ago. It was at Essen for sure. When I say a while ago, I mean like Sunday, 8 days ago. Yeah, I think I played so many. I think I played Triple. Maybe I mean, over the course of Essen, did I actually play Triple myself, or did I just watch other people playing it and tell them to play it? No, I think I didn't. I did play Categorickell though. Yeah, I definitely played that one. I joined in and helped someone who was struggling. Yes, I also did Wibble. I taught that in French. I definitely played Alphabetical. I'm going to say that probably the last one I did was Categorickell, which is a game that I continue to enjoy. And that's the sort of tug-of-war general knowledge one. Over to you. What are you up to? You can share a button if you want to. I have people that I need to pay. I need to pay Dragon Meat to get my stand. I think I need to pay Aircon. Yes, I do. I need to write down a list. I need to pay Keris. Yeah, that's outstanding. That's really not great. I need to pay Jack, who gave me an invoice last week. So I'm going to go to the bank and pay those people. I'm going to try and work on my Kickstarter. I'm going to make sure, like, once I've cycled out, I'll see how I get on, if I've got the energy for dancing. Make sure, have a bit of a shower, maybe a bit like a proper wash, maybe a proper scrub. And yeah, focusing on getting stuff ready for tomorrow so that hopefully people will back me and help enable me to print more things in boxes. So that is what I'm up to. What are you up to? Feel free to let me know. Recap and wrap up before we finish up. To recap and wrap up, so I need to print 1,000 boxes, but not all the boxes need to be the same. So therefore, if I'm printing 5 other games at the same time, that's going to mean that I can print Categorickell more easily. My plan is to, once it's like, yeah, it's going to happen, I'll have all the graphics done, I'll send them off to Jack. Jack will help me, and then we'll get it to print, get people, that will be all the pre-production files done, and Rob will prepare that. I will ask for the exact numbers after I do my survey and ask people how many of each thing they want, and then I will send out game about selecting 7 cards, speedily searching for synergies. Then I will send out Categorickell, then I will send out the other games. If it doesn't fund, I will have to look at it and say, why did it fund? Was it because could it fund a second time, or is there no chance? If it really doesn't fund, and if there's no chance, worst case scenario, Categorickell might be coming in a Bezi bargain bag, which will be a little bit sad. Yes, COVID, Brexit have impacted me massively. And yes, also impacted my mental health and a lot of other things, because we are not robots. And the contest is going on. I would rather take more time over it and play all the games and consider them all properly and thoroughly. But yeah, I realized that maybe I need to be more clear with people of, hey, I think that you're probably not in the top 5, but I'm going to continue doing these things. And I'll give audio feedback has been done, video streaming playtesting will hopefully be finished on next weekend, so the weekend after next. And once that's done, then I'll work out a top 5-ish, rewrite the rules for those people, and then ask other people to help me select a winner. And that is basically that. So if you want to check me out, I am Stuff by Bez in all the places, stuffbybez.com/stream. So tomorrow I'm launching my Kickstarter. Day after I'm chatting with Alan Paul. And then Thursday I'm chatting with Don Eskridge, designer of Resistance and many other games. And then I'll be at Milton Keynes for KCON for a few days. So I will continue doing very quick streams, but they will be very quick. And I think they'll probably be more at the correct time compared to Essen, partially because there's less going on, partially because it's still in the UK. And yep, I'll have Josie to help remind me. So yeah, that is that. And for now, share, spread the word. Thank you everyone watching. And I want to say, I guess I should also say thank you for everyone who backed Categorical. Thank you for your patience. It will come. Something will come. I promise you. Lots of love. Oh, pardon me. Oh, lots of love. And as always, bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go to bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye.